Hey guys, Courtney Epps here, and I am so excited to share with you. Ian is here with me today, and for another episode of What's Your Plan B and why you would be brain dead not own a home-based business. So, Ian, if you will, just share a little bit about yourself, why you got involved in this amazing network marketing industry, and what you did before.
Sure. Well, hey, Courtney, it's a privilege and honor to be on with you. You know, you and I have spoken on a few of the same stages together recently. And so I'm excited about what you're doing, helping entrepreneurs, especially people in the home-based business field, you know, with setting their businesses up properly and making sure they're well set up. But, I've been in that industry for now 13 years. It's hard to believe it's gone like this. It's just kind of one of those things. It's a flicker. It's gone by so fast. And, they say that old saying that, if you love what you're doing, you'll never work a day. And honestly, that's how I feel. I feel like, I haven't worked at all over the last 13 years, although we worked really hard. It didn't feel like work. It felt like something of purpose, and we were making a difference and really changing our lives. So 13 years ago, I was a music director for a local church. So I knew nothing about business. I knew nothing about money and finance. I knew nothing about being an entrepreneur. I sang songs for a living. That's what I did. I was a professional song singer, and that's what I did. And you know what? I loved my job. I didn't view it really as a job. Some people are down on their job and they're like, I can't wait to get out of here. They're living for the weekends. They're dreaming of retirement. That wasn't me. I really felt like what I was doing was not a job. It was a calling. It was a purpose. And if any of you watching have friends or family that are musicians, you know that if we can make enough money playing music to survive, we're like the happiest people in the world, right? And that was me. And I was newly married. We were in our first year of marriage. My wife, Jess, she worked for the church as well. So we're both working for the church. We were working like 50, 60 hours a week. And like normal church employees, we were broke, right? So I had side hustles going on. I was teaching music lessons like 20 hours a week. I was singing at people's weddings, at funerals, running sound for bands, anything I could do to make a little bit of extra money. And through a series of circumstances, I'm from the Detroit metro area. I actually live in Florida now, but grew up in Detroit. I'm actually in Detroit right now. And if you remember 12, 13 years ago, we had a big recession in the country, right? Well, Detroit was one of the hardest hit areas, the big three, Ford, GM, Chrysler. I mean, two of them basically went bankrupt. It was crazy. There was like 40% unemployment. And about 6 months before that started in the church world, we could feel that coming. Charitable giving, unfortunately, tends to be the first thing to go when something isn't right out there in the economy. And so we actually both took a 10% pay cut. And I started looking for things to do. I was making 30 grand a year, Courtney. My income went down to 27 grand. It was a $250 a month pay cut. I was already teaching music lessons. I was already doing everything I knew to do. And so I'm like, gosh, what else could I possibly be doing to supplement this income? And so, 13 years ago, I started to make $250 a month. And honestly, the whole thing's just got a little out of hand since then. But it's been an awesome ride. It's been incredible. And we've been able to travel the world. My beautiful wife homeschools our 3 kids. And so we've been, literally everywhere. And it's been an awesome ride so far. And it's just getting started. We're just starting to dream and just starting to really see what life can be like. And so you're at the right place and you're doing the right thing by pursuing maybe a non-traditional business opportunity, because the truth is traditional businesses, especially today, are having all sorts of issues out there. It's an unprecedented sort of world we're living in. And, taking your income into your own hands is always a great thing, right?
I love it. And, what you just said, a couple things. One, that charitable giving is the first thing to go, typically, if the economy is happening. And that's one of the things people don't realize, that when you stop giving, you stop receiving. Yeah. And that is, it's kind of counterintuitive, but that's what I found, is that the more and more I give to people, the more that I receive. The second thing is that your average income, one of the reasons why I share this is that 2 years ago, I was driving to Tampa, Florida, and minding my own business, listening to Grant Cardone talk about wealth. And he brought up some statistics that clearly they stopped me in my tracks. Like I had to pull over on the side of the road. And I realized what my purpose on this earth was. And what he said is that the average household in America will make $60,000 this year. And they will pay $14,000 in taxes. And so that means they're left with a take home of $46,000 a year. And the problem with that is the cost of living in America is $53,000. And so the average W-2 employee doesn't even realize it. And they're going in debt $7,000 a year to work 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year to take 2 weeks paid vacation. And fortunately, honestly, it'd been over a year since I'd even been involved in network marketing, and I am not in any way, shape, form, or fashion involved in network marketing at all. I'm a huge advocate for the industry, and I'm a tax strategist. That's what I do for a living. I free up money for people. I don't know of anything more beneficial to do other than being involved in network marketing and helping people make money. So I free up money, and so they can make more money. And so I heard those statistics, and fortunately, I'd been involved in network marketing, and I'd done over 900 tax returns at that point in time. And I showed people where they were before their home-based business. Even if they hadn't been successful or not, it was irrelevant. The tax deductions is what they could take advantage of, and where they were after. And I found that I could find the average household $4,000 to $7,000 a year, depending on their tax bracket, right? So when I heard those statistics and I put that together, I said, I'm the only accountant that has been involved in network marketing that probably has the voice and is willing to go out and share with people how they could truly free up $4,000 to $7,000 a year and change their life and get their life back, and potentially even make some money along the way. So that's kind of where this all came from. Next month will be 2 years. And I started working alongside network marketers because, see, guys, here's what I know. You have to figure out a way to get out of the first tax system that was created to steal your wealth. And the majority of Americans are there, and they're scared to death to get out. And hopefully with the pandemic, people are starting to realize, like, it's not the secure way. The secure way is to actually, to make sure that you're providing for yourself instead of worrying about someone else to provide for you. But that first tax system was created to steal wealth away, and that is the W-2 employee tax system. And 40% of every dollar you make minimum will go to pay taxes in your lifetime. You will literally pay more in taxes if you're in that system than you will on food, clothing, housing, and transportation combined. Whereas if you move over to this second tax system that we're talking about, the business owner tax system, and I don't care what that looks like for you. What I do know is home-based business is the way to go. And the reason why, because you have such massive tax advantages on things you're already spending money on every day anyway. But that second tax system for the business owner was created to provide wealth for you. And so we, as business owners, we are creating economy. That's why we're getting tax advantages. We get to write off most of our needs and our wants because we can turn those into business expenses. And then what's left over, we hire employees. That's the hopes of Congress, is that we're spending our money regenerating economy, hiring employees, and then in turn, the employees turn and pay the taxes. So that's why I'm so adamant about this industry. So you've been in this industry now for 13 years?
13 years.
Wow. And you have 3 kids?
3 kids. Yep. 12, 10, and 8. 12, 10, and 8. Yeah.
I have 6 children.
You're beating me, Courtney. You've doubled my kid count.
mine are 18, 17, 16, 15, 13, and 7.
Wow.
And we homeschool them all as well. But now we have a full-time nanny because I have to work here at the office until I can get my way out and go back home and start working from home.
Fantastic. One of the things I always tell people, Courtney, is you're talking about job security, you know what I mean? And people waking up and saying, maybe this isn't as secure as I thought it was going to be. One of the things that I tell people is, job security is like the oxymoron of the century. You know what I mean? Like, there's absolutely no security in having your income totally dictated and controlled by somebody else who could get rid of it really at any point they choose. You know what I mean? Like, I always tell people, hey, if you get laid off, right? Like, go into your boss and just say, hey, you know what? This is not a good time for me. I just have some things going on in my life, and I really appreciate your desire to get rid of me, but I'm just going to pass on that if that's all right with you. So I'll see you again tomorrow, and we'll just keep everything the same. Like, how's that going to go, right? But most people, they don't stop and think about it. They think, well, I don't know if I'd be good at doing something at home. I don't want to be that sort of person that goes out and tries to sell things to their friends or whatever. But the truth is that you're, one decision away from disaster. If you're not providing for yourself, if you don't learn how to create value in our economy, like what you were talking about, bring value to people, you're always going to be at the mercy of other people. The other thing that I always tell people about getting involved in the network marketing industry, Courtney, I say, listen, the worst thing that happens to you is really three things by getting involved in the network marketing space. Number one is you're going to get a world-class education.
Yes.
I mean, you're going to get an education about all the things they don't teach you in school that you realize later on in life, like, I actually need this, like, interpersonal skills and building relationships and creating a network and sales skills and the ability to communicate effectively what you want. You're going to get a world-class education by being in business for yourself without the risk of being in business for yourself. So number one is you get a world-class education. Number two is you get tax deductions on things you spend money on already, like your food and travel and your cell phone bill and all these sorts of things that people are already spending money on. But as a W-2, it's not a business expense. But when you're running your own home-based business, all of a sudden, all those things become tax deductible, or at least some of them become somewhat tax deductible.
Yes.
And, if you had to pay more in taxes or less in taxes off the same income, hopefully most of your viewers would pick less.
Yes.
Right. So that's reason number two. And the third reason I tell people to get involved in network marketing, worst thing that happens to you is you get a spare tire. And everybody has a spare tire on their car, Courtney, right? In case they get a flat, right? And so everybody gets that when it comes to a 20-minute road trip, but very few people get that when it comes to their income.
Yes.
Right. And so, hey, you know what? You got a spare tire. Maybe it's not something you'll ever do full time. Maybe it's not something you're super passionate about, but it is something that if you needed to, you could go and pick up and keep going with, right? You don't have to put your name on a resume list that's 1,000 resumes deep and hope and pray that somebody picks you, right? You can go out and you can take the skills you learned, right? And you can go out and you can create some income for your family. You could take some control over your financial life and well-being. And again, in today's world, I would ask your viewers, does it make sense to have more or less control over how we generate our income? I think everybody would agree more control. And that's one of the benefits of that home-based business system is literally anybody without any real amount of startup capital, little to no experience, they can come in and they can learn skills from proven mentors and great systems. And if they're the right people, they can make a fantastic living many, many, many more times maybe than they were making before.
Yes, I love it. And, I didn't even know what personal growth and development was before I got involved in network marketing. So about 10 years ago, I put my business up for sale. I had a really large insurance agency and accounting firm dealing with some personal issues, put my business up for sale, didn't hire an attorney, and signed some papers. And 4 months later, the owner of the new company or that company stopped paying me. And I was $250,000 in debt. And, I was 30 years old. I had, 6 children at the time that, and we had nothing. We had nothing to show for the 3.5 years that we built that business, or I built that business. And that really hit me really, really hard. And it was only going back into being involved in network marketing. My parents got me involved, and I was able to build up not only a clientele, but my mindset, because I thought that I'd failed one time and I was going to always be a failure. And I didn't realize that, people fail. Like, people fail a lot sometimes.
It's part of the process.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a process, and I didn't realize that. And so when I got around the right mindset of people, I was able to then start growing myself again. And I think one of the biggest things in network marketing, I'll tell you this, Ian, I don't know about you, but when you see people walking across stage and you're like, they did it, like they have like no education, they have no this, they have no this. I have all these things, and then it pushes you to be greater. That's one of the things about events, going to events and being able to be a part of that really just pushes you to go another level that you don't even think is possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that obviously the financial aspect is generally what starts most people in this industry, right? That they have a need, they have some sort of desire to change their life. But I think, like you're talking about, Courtney, I think there's a lot of other, maybe less tangible benefits, but they end up being everything, and you're talking about personal growth and personal development. And the fact is this: you can't go into a bright new future with your same old self. You know what I mean? Like your best thinking, my best thinking got us where we were, right? And so, it's like the definition of insanity, right, is repeating the same thing over and over, but expecting a different result. And people want to have the same education they had before, the same skill set they had before, the same personality development they had before, and expect things to change. And that's not going to happen. And the network marketing industry allows you to be around people that you generally wouldn't have access to out in the public, people that have made huge amounts of money, have become just absolutely top tier leaders, have built mega organizations. And you can be around those people and see, how do these people think differently than I do? What are they doing on a daily basis that's helped them get where they are at versus what I'm doing on a daily basis? So you can learn, all of that personal development stuff through network marketing. But I think some of the other things that, I realized as time went on is you build some incredible relationships with people who are going to the same place in their life, that are dreamers, that want something more, that are focused on the positive, that will encourage you to step out. So many people are surrounded by people that love them and don't want to see them get hurt. And so they discourage them from chasing their dreams, because chasing their dreams is scary to somebody who's given up on theirs, right? Somebody who's given up, they've sold out, they've settled. Right? You chasing your dreams is scary, but being able to get around some other dreamers, some other people that have something they want to do in their life, it encourages you to be more, right? To become more, to challenge your status quo. And I just think that that's everything, because without that, we'll stay where we are forever. Most people at a normal W-2, they've got 30 years experience, but that's not true, right? They have 1 year's experience repeated 29 times because nobody's pushed them to get better. Nobody's told them there's more out there to life.
That's so true. I mean, you're so right. And one of the things, just having a conversation today with one of my staff members, and she just got out of college, and this is her first job, and she's not sure what she wants to do with her life. And sadly enough, I think what happens is you just kind of go through life, like you just, whatever comes along, you take it, and then you stay there. And, over time you realize, well, gosh, I really want to do something different, but I need this security. And that's where so many people are just stuck right now.
Yeah, they're trapped. You're exactly right. Nobody really, dreams of driving a Kia and, living next door to where their parents grew up, like most people. But yet that's where most people are, because they get trapped in that sort of way of thinking and way of being. And it all comes down to thinking. What you think about, you're going to bring about. Yeah. And, I teach a concept called T-BAR, and that stands for thoughts, beliefs, actions, and results. And basically what it says is that this is a formula how life works. Our thoughts eventually become beliefs. Whatever we think about long enough, deeply enough, emotionally enough, eventually creates a belief system. And our belief systems eventually create our actions. We'll act on what we believe, or we won't act based on what we believe. And ultimately our actions create our results, right? And so our results ultimately are tied back to our thinking, right? Our thinking, Courtney, is really, it's based upon kind of what we're surrounded with. Like, what color is your wall behind you? It's like bluish purple, right? Well, why do I know that? I can see that, right? I had a thought, Courtney's wall is bluish purple. If I couldn't see it and experience it, I could guess, but I wouldn't know, right? Does that make sense? Yeah. And so going to what you're talking about with your employee, what happens is people's surroundings don't change. They hang around the same people. that think about the same things. They live in the same house. They drive the same sort of cars. They're never really exposing themselves to anything different than what they already have and where they already are. And because of that, that's the only building blocks for thinking we have, is what we're exposed to, right? And the network marketing industry is probably the best industry I've ever seen to quickly expose you to different ways of living that, in my opinion, are quite a bit more advantageous than, clocking in for 40 years to live for 10 or 12 during retirement on 40% of what you couldn't live on already,
Exactly. If you even get that. I just recently hired a dear friend of mine who worked for the city of Oklahoma, or the state of Oklahoma, as a teacher for 23 years. And they gave her $61,000 in retirement total.
Wow. Yeah. I have a friend, he's an accountant, but he works for a big firm, and partners at the firm, they get a pension that is, a strong 6-figure pension, well over $250,000 a year. And he said, Ian, the craziest thing about it is they collect the pension on average for 27 months before they pass away. So, the guys that get to the top of that W-2 game, they don't last very long afterwards. That's a tough game to win, right? And even when you win, you still don't win, because you have 2 or 3 years to enjoy what you built.
Exactly.
And then you're gone because all the stress and different things like that.
You're right. And I mean, that's the thing, being an accountant, I can tell you, I have people tell me all the time, because it's so great because I'm out of the industry. So people tend to use me and talk to me about everything that's going on in their life. And so it's so funny, somebody will say, well, it's so hard. And I'm like, you have no clue. Like, come to my office for at least 2 weeks, and you can sit in my office and you can work with my staff, and you can prepare tax returns, and you can do tax strategy sessions for people, and you can do bookkeeping, and we'll see how quickly you go run back to your network marketing career. Because
sure,
all you got to do is talk. I mean,
talk
really,
to people.
That's it. And some people it's hard for them, but I want people to understand here, 46% of Americans before the pandemic did not have an extra $400 to their name. And 69% of Americans before the pandemic did not have an extra $1,000 to their name. And by you not sharing with someone the education that we're giving you right now, just the fact that you could find something to free up $4,000 to $7,000 a year and attempt to earn an income, whether you ever do or not, you have to attempt to earn that income. But you could potentially change someone's history of their family tree by opening your mouth and sharing with them something, because they may not necessarily know, and they may attack you for it only because they may not have the extra money to get started. And I think that's where people tend to find themselves, is that if they don't have the extra money, they have to talk bad about the industry, because otherwise they would be talking bad about themselves.
Sure. Yeah, they've got to find a scapegoat. One of the things that's so interesting about our industry and why it maybe sometimes gets a little bit of a bad rap is, think about, you go to school and you grow up and, one of the kids makes it to the league, right? They're in the NBA and they're making big money, and everybody's like, man, I grew up with him. I went to school. We were best friends. Like, everybody wants to claim that, right? Because it's something that everybody can't do. Yeah. That person to get into the NBA probably was a lot taller than an average person, right? They probably put in an enormous amount of work, right? And there are a number of factors that needed to exist in order for that person to even have a chance to make it to the NBA, right? And so an average person looks at that person's success or drive for success and applauds it, because there's no tie between that person that makes it to the league and them. They can succeed, and that doesn't bring any conviction or responsibility on me to have tried to succeed like that, because he has a different skill set. He's got a different build. It wasn't relevant to me. But in the network marketing industry, literally anybody has a chance to do that. And so when we don't take the chance, when we don't avail ourselves of the opportunity, when we don't want to get better as it requires us to get better, when we won't make the commitment that it requires us to make, right? Well, I can't say that anymore. Like, you were special and so I wasn't responsible. You and I were doing the same deal, right? Like, we had the same opportunity. You took it, I didn't. And you're exactly right. Like, I can't look at me and say, well, man, I boofed that one, right? Like, I need to say, well, there are bigger things in life than becoming financially independent, right? Okay. Money doesn't buy happiness. That's true, but it does buy a lot of other things like tacos, right? Vacations, other things that are good. Okay. But they've got to minimize that win there so as to not feel convicted that they did not attempt to achieve that same amount of victory in their life,
That's so true. And I will tell you this, money might not buy happiness, but the lack of money sure does not buy happiness. I'm telling you what.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd rather, if I'm going to be crying, Courtney, I'd rather be crying in the Mercedes Benz. Exactly. If I'm going to be shedding the tears either way, because you're right, money doesn't buy happiness, lack of money doesn't buy happiness. So happiness must be related to something else. If it is, then you might as well be happy or sad with as much money as you can possibly get.
That's exactly right. And you can't help as many people. That's one of the things that I've learned. We developed something called a social business for our accounting practice about 2 years ago. And every day we provide enough money to provide for 8,000 children a day, whole food, plant-based nutrition. We provide at least 53 people a day with safe drinking water for the next 15 years in Liberia right now. We're moving on to Guatemala next to impact the entire country. And then the third thing is that every 3 days, roughly, we free a child from sex trafficking. And so you can't do those things without money. And, people just don't comprehend the fact that I think, I used to have people say, well, network marketing is like all the people at the top make money. Gosh knows, like, what you don't realize in that sentence is that me as a business owner, my staff will never have a chance to make more money than I do. And nor should they, because I built this business.
You took the risk.
I took the risk. But the thing is you get to make the decision to do the exact same thing. You can make more money than if you join Ian's team, you can make more money than Ian. If I had a team, you can make more money than me. That's the way the network marketing space works.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Courtney, I earn more in my network marketing business than every person upline of me. Now, they all make some money from me, and that's good. I'm glad that they do. But yeah, if you do it right, that really is unlimited. You're not limited by the people above you for sure, and that's a great thing. The sky's the limit. And once you hit that limit, man, you can go punch some holes in the sky and go further if you're willing to keep working, if you're willing to keep getting better and serving people. I love what you talked about there. You got to have money to make an impact, right? And, some people, I came from the church world. People would challenge me on stuff like that. They say, well, I'm going to go be a missionary. And say, okay, but how are you going to survive? Well, I'll raise support. Okay, so other people are going to have to give you money that they don't need so that you can do what you want to do, right? So like somebody has got to get the money. And in America or North America, right? Okay, if you have money, unless you stole it, you earned it. And you earned it by creating value. The only way you get money, Courtney, in America is when somebody says, you know what, I want your skill, I want your goods, I want your service, I want your intellectual property more than I want my money. Can we make a trade? Could I give you my money in return for what you're doing to serve me? And so in America, money is a certificate of merit. It's a certificate of service. The more you have, the more people you've served. The less you have, the less people you've served, right? That makes sense. Yeah. That's the only way that it happens. And so the more you have, the more people you're serving and making a difference for, and the better you can do with those things. I always tell people, have you ever gone to a job interview under the viaduct, right? Right. To go, is that where you went to interview? No, because the people living under the viaduct don't have jobs to give you, right? You got to have something in order to give it to somebody else. You can't give to somebody that which you don't already possess, right? And, you get around people in this industry that have made a lot of money, that have taught a lot of other people how to do that. It's a great thing to learn.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, that's one of the things I don't think I have any friends that are outside the network marketing space. So, it's super fun.
They must be recruiting you every day.
I'm telling you, it used to be. And then I finally had to step in and say, look, like, I love everything that all of you are doing. But when I was in the network marketing space and I was teaching these same concepts, most people would not listen to me because they thought I was trying to sell them something. And by staying outside, one, I can help everyone. And two, no one listens to me based upon, oh, she's trying to sell me to get me in her network marketing, a thing that she's in. And I want to stay very super clear about that I'm a huge advocate for the industry. Now, do I think it's easier than what I do on a daily basis? Yes. Do I think it's easy? No, because anything that's worth getting good at and that's going to make you a lot of money, you're going to have to build up the skills and the systems and the tools in order to do that. The only difference is in the network marketing space is that most of it's already built for you.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I love about the network marketing space, I have a concept that I like to teach people, Courtney, called the theory of tens. So let's go back to the guy that made it to the league, right? Okay. And if you want to make big money and make a big difference in life, you're going to need to be a 10. On a scale of 1 to 10, you got to be a 10, okay? And in most things in life, part of the 10 is earnable and learnable. Yes. Part of the 10 needs to naturally exist. For example, our friend in the basketball league, right? Out of the 10 points you need to have to be a 10, okay? Probably 3 or 4 of them are based on how tall you are. Well, last time I checked, there's really not a program for growing 4 inches. You kind of are that. And so if, let's say, 6 of the 10 are earnable, it's skill, it's practice, it's drilling, it's muscle memory, it's nutrition. 6 of the 10 are earnable, but 4 of the 10 need to be there. The problem with that equation, Courtney, is if you only got 2 of the 4, you'll only ever be an 8, no matter how many of the 6 you get, right? And so you might be good, but you'll never be good enough, right? I was a musician. It's very much the same way. How many of you know great musicians, fantastically talented people? They're playing in a bar. They could have been something big, but it just never happened. They needed to be a 10 just to have an opportunity to make it big, right? And in music, again, part of it is earnable, right? You got to practice your instrument. You got to push yourself. You got to study. But if you can't hear tone, I don't care how many singing lessons you get, you're still going to sing like a pig. You know what I mean? Like it's not going to be pretty. So part of it is earnable, part of it is learnable. Courtney, network marketing is the only thing I've ever seen in my life where all 10 are earnable and learnable. It does not require any prerequisite, not about how you look, how old you are, what education level you have. It is totally neutral. And all 10 of those 10 that you need to be great, you can earn. So like you said, it's not that it's easy, it's work. But the work will pay off because you can get all of those 10 that you need to be to really do something big. You're not limited by having to have had something that maybe you don't have.
Exactly. And here's, you're going to love this. So I sat down with my staff. I was teaching tax strategy and, I ingrained this stuff into my staff. So, and it's crazy that I only see about 10% of them actually have some sort of home-based business. And so that just tells you the mindset that has to shift, the mindset of a W-2 employee versus a W-2 employee with a home-based business or a sheer entrepreneur. But I showed them that same $60,000, the statistics, the $60,000, they're going to pay $14,000 in taxes. And I showed me making just comparable $450,000. And I showed how I wrote off my Suburban last year. There was a $65,000 car. We didn't have to make a first payment on it. Immediately when we bought it, it was a tax deduction. My Cadillac XT6 that we bought the last day of the year, that was a $10,000 deduction because it was under 6,000 pounds. So I can only take limited depreciation deduction on that. But I also got to take actual expenses on those vehicles. I showed how I wrote off my swimming pool because I hired my employees who are my children, and I allowed my children to swim in the swimming pool. They're now my employees. That now becomes a fringe benefit. So I was able to write off my swimming pool, the landscaping that goes with it, the business use of my home, the nanny that I have, because obviously I need her to help me take care of my children so that I can grow my business. The travel, me becoming a platinum partner with Tony Robbins, $85,000. And I will tell you this much, in the real business world, there's nowhere for people like me to go to be around the top people other than Tony Robbins Platinum Partnership. Well, that cost me $85,000 a year. You can do that in network marketing, then go to your next event and just hang out with the people who are making more money than you. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, so, there's so many benefits there. And then, it cost me $40,000 in travel to go hang out with Tony Robbins. But all of those were tax deductions for me. And I showed them how I took $450,000, turned that into a space that I actually received $10,000 in a tax deduction in child tax credit because of the fact that I have 6 kids. I claimed 5 of them, and I had all these tax deductions that went against my taxable income. Whereas as a W-2 employee, you don't get that same benefit. And so when people understand that in this space, you get to hang around with the right people, the people that are going to help you get further in life, you not only get to do that, but you also have the ability to make extra money. On top of that, you get the personal growth and development that you need in order to put you at a higher level and to get your mindset right. And then you get massive tax deductions along the way because that personal growth and development is tax deductible. I can go hang out with Ian, and I think last time we saw each other was in it was in Florida when we went to that island in Florida, and we were
Naples.
Yeah, Naples. There you go. And so that was tax deductible. So you can take your children with you. You can hang out with them, which I did. I took my son with me. He went with me to the event. I was able to take him. He helped me at the event. That was 100% tax deductible for us. The meals, the mileage, the cell phone, the internet, business use of your home, hiring your kids. All of these things are huge, massive tax deductions that most Americans are already spending money on. They just don't get any benefit from. So, that's and I know we've taken a lot of your time today, and Ian, I so appreciate you being here on this call with me or on this live with me. Share just kind of your last thoughts, for someone who's maybe on the fence, or they're not even they're in network marketing, but they're not in network marketing.
Sure.
What would you say to those people?
Sure. What I'd tell you is, how's it working so far for you not having a residual recurring income base, right? And that's why you started, right? Remember why you started. If you haven't gotten started, I would really, really encourage you to take the step. What's the worst thing that happens is maybe it's not for you. You're not willing to put in the work, or whatever happens. You can always just stay where you are, right? You have nothing to lose. You have everything to gain, nothing to lose. And I just encourage you, a lot of times blessings come in disguise, right? They come in disguise, and God works in some pretty interesting ways. And a lot of times he uses things we would never expect. We would have never chosen on our own to do something really, really big in your life. I know that's what happened to me. I wasn't expecting this. I could have cared less about anything that I was involved in now back then. But luckily I was open-minded enough to try. And so, what do you have to lose if you don't try? And the answer is everything. So I just want to encourage you there. And then Courtney, tell me a little bit about where people can find you. Obviously they're watching you on Facebook, right? Okay. But where are you at on Instagram? Are you on LinkedIn? How can people find you, get a hold of you?
So I'm on Courtney Epps Tax on Instagram. You can find me there pretty easily. And Courtney Epps, I'm sure, on LinkedIn. And then here. So, and I've put in the box, like the header title, to get a book, download a free copy of my book called More Relaxing, Less Taxing, because we've got a new book coming out actually next week. It will be launching, called What's Your Plan B? Why You'd Be Brain Dead Not to Own a Home-Based Business. And then the second thing is, if you're interested in booking a tax strategy session with us, you can book that as well. And Ian where do they find, what's the name of your book? I bought it when last year, but where do they find your book as well, and any information on you?
Sure. I have a book called Byproduct, and it is on Amazon. You can get it on Amazon or really anywhere like that. So just do a couple of clicks. Fantastic strategies on how to grow yourself. How do you get yourself to do what you know you need to do, but you won't do, right? And that's the biggest gap in the world, Courtney, is the gap between knowing what to do and then doing it. Like, we all want to lose weight. We know we should eat less and work out more. We just don't seem to do it, right? We all want to make more money. We start a home-based business. We just don't seem to go to the trainings or call anybody. Why? What is it about us that stops us from doing the things we know we need to do? And it's the strategies I used over 10 years to take myself from earning $27,000 a year to a 7-figure annual income. And so you can get that on Amazon. And obviously you can follow me on Instagram at Ian Prukner or on Facebook. And you can get some links there as well. But it really has been a pleasure hanging out with you today, Courtney. I'm excited about what you're doing and the difference you're making in people's lives.
Thank you so much, Ian. And I know you're doing exactly the same thing. So I so appreciate you being on here today. And guys, this is another episode of What's Your Plan B? Why you be brain dead, not own a home-based business. Go out and find something you're passionate about and share that with the world so that you can have a better life. You can live more, you can have more, and you can give more. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.
See you guys.